Okay, now if you can see down there, we've got it loosened. It's coming out, and there's a little hole right there actually. You can see it'll go right down there into the drip pan. Now this is going to come out faster the more I take it out. So I'm going to drain that. Take the top off the radiator cap, drain that, and then we'll take the water pump off. Okay, so looking at the new water pump here, it's going to be like this, and you can see that there's going to be 5 different bolts that we need to take out of the old one here. These are all 10 millimeters, so they're not in there very hard. So just take each one of those out, and then be ready to pull that off. Okay, so I've got all 5 of those out, and you can see you need to make sure you have your splash pan underneath to catch all the extra that's going to come out. Some of it will start seeping out as you're taking the bolts off, and then you want to kind of get this loose. There we go. Like I said, there's going to be a lot. Even though you drain some, there's still going to be a lot coming out. And you can see there's the coolant coming out there. I'll take out the whole water pump here. And then I'm going to put in the new one and wrap it back up. Okay, I've got the new water pump here, and I put in the gasket, and as you can see there's little tabs here, so make sure you push it in down around those tabs and clean off the surface down there before you install the new one. Okay, now you want to put all these in just finger tight. First, make sure that your gasket, you see that, make sure that your gasket stays in there. Put these in finger tight. Get all in there, and then we're going to torque them, but you don't. It's a very low torque spec, so we don't want to strip. Okay, now that we got the water pump in there, the first thing we're going to do before we put the pulley on or anything else is we got to put the belt tensioner back in. Remember, we have to kind of loop it in this way. Get the pulley up at the top, and then the other connection, it's a little bit hard to see, but I'll show you after I get it in place here. Okay, now remember this part here, so the bolt is going to go there, and then when we had that underneath, we had that hex, 8mm hex that we got to put in to hold the hose. So we have those 2 bolts to hold that in. Okay, so as you can see, I put the belt tensioner back in, got the bolt there, and then that 8mm bolt, which you can't really see in there, put that in again. So now that we've got the belt tensioner on there, now we can put the pulley on. Make sure you do it in this order. So let's put the pulley on, and the 3 bolts that hold the pulley on, we'll get those tightened up, and then we'll put the alternator. So I torqued those not very hard. I think it's like 8.6 foot-pounds, so it's like 104 inch-pounds. So those are, you don't want to strip the threads on that. Now I've got the pulley back on here. I've got to put those 3 bolts back into that, and I'm going to do that now. Again, so I got those in hand tight. And again, I got my screwdriver in there, and then I'm going to torque down each one of these 3, and then we'll be able to be ready to put the alternator back in. So I'm going to get those 3 tightened down, and we'll put the alternator back. Okay, so I went ahead and just set the alternator back in here. Now, one thing you might need to do is, in order to give you enough room so this thing slides on here easy, take a pair of like channel locks or something, and see that kind of brass fitting, push it over, so squeeze it so that this gives enough room in here. And now we can take our 2 bolts and put them back there and underneath the whole. So I put those two alternator bolts in. Make sure you do everything hand tight first before you lock it down. I'm going to go ahead and put this wire snap back on here. Now the alternator's in place. And I'm going to redo the plugs here. So there's the brown one that goes here. Situate there. They should make sure you should hear them click into place. This one again is the 10mm nut, so I'm gonna have to screw that one on. And then again over here, remember I took this bracket off, so I'm gonna have to screw that back on with those 2 before I connect this wire here. Okay, I got the bracket back on the side here. And we're going to tighten up this nut here on the top. And put the rubber boot over the top of that. And then the last thing that we needed to reconnect on this was we wanted to slide this on here, so that the connector is right here. So we want that little slot there goes on here. So it clicks, and then put this one on here till it clicks. Got that. And I got my rubber boot back all the way back on there. So we're done with the alternator. Okay, so we got everything reconnected. Got the alternator in, the belt tensioner on. The last thing we're going to do is put the new serpentine belt on. So you'll notice when you have grooved pulleys like that, that's going to match up with the grooves. If you've got smooth pulleys like that one, let me get a picture of the one, the shiny, or shiny and smooth down there, right there. Then you want to have the back side or the smooth side of the belt matching up with that. So make sure you map out or get a map of where the belt goes, and then thread this through. Okay, so I've got the new belt on here, and what you want to do is make sure that you get it perfectly even over each of the pulleys. And go back and look down at each one of them, make sure it's right. You want to even, go underneath. So go under and check the pulleys underneath. Make sure that's all good. Okay, so the last step is obviously to refill the coolant, and you want to first fill this up to the line. You can, if you shine a flashlight down there, you can see the max line. Fill that up after you've drained it. Then fill the radiator up. It's going to take, well, the total capacity says 1.48 gallons. So I got 2 gallons of the blue antifreeze that matches what came out of the car. And that should be the last step. Once you get that full, then it's time to test it out. Make sure the belt's on, make sure there's no leaks, and that should be it. And I hope this helps. If it helps you, then subscribe to my channel and leave comments if you have any questions. Thanks.